पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जय जय मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Please be seated. We have all gathered here this evening for the release of commemorative publication of National Herald that marks 70th year of Indian independence. This day indeed is an important milestone in the journey of National Herald. The journey that began in 1938 when the newspaper was launched by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in the vanguard of Indian freedom struggle. You will be hearing more about this journey as we proceed through the evening. But first, on behalf of the National Herald team, as a member of Board of Directors of Associated Journals Limited, let me welcome and thank first our chief guest, Honorable President Shri Pranab Mukherjee ji, guest of honor, Honorable Congress President Srimati Sonia Gandhi ji, all our dignitaries and indeed each one of you for having taken time to be with us on this rainy Saturday evening. We will begin the program with a welcome musical performance by the renowned Shillong Chamber Choir. Founded in 2001, the multiple award-winning choir represents India's spirit of unity. The choir has performed and won hearts not just all across India, but all across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the Shillong Chamber Choir.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening. And good evening, His Excellency the President of India and all the dignitaries that I see all over the room. It is actually a great honor for us to be here this evening. And I see faces all over the room who have the power to make a change. And we as simple musicians, all we want to do in these next few minutes is to inspire you to further that change. And in this next song, it is what we call the patriotic medley. It has songs that empower, Sare Jahan Se Acha, Aashaye, and Rang De Basanti. And here goes, this is the patriotic medley.
सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा हम बुलबुले हैं इसकी ये गुलसिता हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा हम बुलबुले इसकी ये गुलसिता हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा आशाएं खिले दिल की उम्मीदें हंसी दिल की अब मुश्किल नहीं कुछ भी नहीं कुछ भी आशाएं खिले दिल की उम्मीदें हंसी दिल की अब मुश्किल नहीं कुछ भी नहीं कुछ भी मज़हब नहीं सिखाता आपस में बैर रखना मज़हब नहीं सिखाता आपस में बैर रखना हिंदी है हम हिंदी है हम हिंदी है हम हिंदी है हम
Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake.
मोहे मोहे तो रंग दे बसंती 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 मोहे रंग दे बसंती मोहे रंग दे बसंती मोहे रंग दे बसंती मोहे रंग दे बसंती into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And now for the final song. It is a song written by our director and a song very close to our hearts. And like the MC just said, we're all the way from the northeast part of India, from Shillong. And this song says, Vande Mataram. I am so proud to be an Indian. And that is the root behind what we do, why we sing, and why we do our job. And thank you for having us. Here goes once again, Vande Mataram. I'm so proud to be an Indian. God bless you all.
मुझे गर्व है तिरंगे पर, मुझे गर्व है हिंदुस्तान पर, मुझे गर्व है तिरंगे पर। जग में है जो टूटे रिश्ते, आओ हम जुड़े इससे। मुझे गर्व है हिंदुस्तान पर। I'm so proud to be an Indian. I'm so proud to hold my flag up high. I'm so proud to be an Indian. I'm so proud to hold my flag up high. In a world with so much suffering, let us heal the wounded cry. I'm so proud to be an Indian. बदलेगा ये जहां, मिल जाएगी हमें जन्नत यहाँ।
Thank you, Shillong Chembakwe, for the splendid performance that indeed exemplified some of the values that National Herald has stood for and stands for. Next, we have a short film prepared by the creative team at National Herald, aptly named India at a Crossroads. The film explores the values and ideals that shaped our Indian freedom movement and indeed that acted as guiding principles for the early formative years of nation building that followed subsequently. The film goes on to explore if and whether these values and ideals are under threat under the current social and political context. Ladies and gentlemen, India at a Crossroads.
Our freedom movement gave India a very, very disruptive weapon. One man, one vote. This is basically the foundation of truth in India, because it allows every single Indian to express his version of the truth.
Of the people, for the people, by the people.
सांप्रदायिकता से आजादी.
हम पर्दे में अब नहीं हैं.
Freedom that doesn't curb anybody else's freedom.
Justice.
It's not a dictatorship.
पढ़ने का अधिकार.
शिक्षा.
Equality.
आत्मविश्वास.
All of the people, irrespective of their caste, creed, religion,
or right to not practice a religion.
Everyone has their differences, but everyone is the same, and everyone is equal in terms of access to opportunities and the right to be happy and the right to grow.
Freedom of ideas.
where everyone could at least voice their opinions.
Choose who you love without it being banned.
कहीं बैठ के बातें कर रहा हूँ तो मुझे कोई उठा के ना ले जाए.
What you eat, what you wear.
You have the freedom to do it.
It's really great that we have so many cultures, so many people speaking so many different languages coming together under one roof.
I don't think without focus on right kind of democracy, which is inclusive, you can build strong India.
भारतीय राष्ट्रवाद दरअसल एक दिलचस्प न्योता है.
लोकतंत्र को भीड़ तंत्र में बदलने की कोशिश की जा रही है.
By creating an atmosphere of anger and violence and hatred in India, which will then require the destruction of the idea of one man, one vote.
जिनका इतिहास इस देश में आज़ादी के आंदोलन में हिस्सा नहीं लेने का रहा है, अंग्रेजों से माफ़ी मांगने का रहा है, संविधान को नहीं मानने का रहा है, जिनका इतिहास झंडा जलाने का रहा है, आज वो दूसरे से देशभक्ति का प्रमाण पत्र मांग रहे हैं.
A kind of nationalism that is above humanity.
अगर इसमें न्योता नहीं है, जबरदस्ती है, तो फिर भारतीय राष्ट्र के कोई मायने नहीं है.
कोई आंदोलन या प्रोटेस्ट करे तो उसको किसी और मसले में फंसा दिया जाता है. आपको जीने नहीं देंगे.
आप अगर कुछ कहेंगे तो आप पे सेडिशन चार्ज लग जाएगा.
We are at a crossroad in India. We are also at a tipping point.
हमारे देश की जो रैम है ना वो थोड़ी सी बढ़ा दी जाए. हमारा देश ना जो है ना सच में हैंग हो रहा है. आप
एक तरह से जैसे मूवी चलती है उस टाइप की न्यूज हो गई है. कागज में और न्यूज भी सब बेकार है.
कहे कुछ करे कुछ.
हम किसी बात पे न्यूज दे रहे हैं मगर सुनवाई नहीं होगी. छोटे मोटे आदमियों से भी पूछना चाहिए. वो अपना 4 बंदे उनके फिक्स है.
Mainstream media seems to have let the people of this country down when they most needed them to be fair and to speak truth to power.
You have to question the silence.
एक तरफ चुप्पी है, दूसरी तरफ बहुत बड़ा शोर है, और यह शोर तरह तरह के दुर्भावना के स्वामियों का, गोस्वामियों का, भक्तों का स्वर है.
जवाहरलाल ने जिस तरह से जमहूरियत की नशोनमा के लिए काम किया था, वो काम की ज़रूरत फिर से पैदा हो गई है जो आज के मौजूदा हालात हैं.
इस शोर के खिलाफ नेशनल हेरल्ड विवेक का स्वर देगा.
With all the challenges facing India at this time, there is a great need for a platform that will give space to voices that believe in secularism, democracy, liberal ideology, and bring people together to replace this divisiveness, unite our society, and allow people to live their lives the way they want.
And sometimes you might want to say things that we as an organization might find a little distasteful. Go ahead and say it.
जवाहरलाल नेहरू का एक वाक्य है जो नेशनल हेराल्ड पर जाता है, और वो वाक्य है फ्रीडम इज इन पेरिल. ये हमेशा की चीज है. संघर्ष तो शायद इंसान के वजूद के साथ जुड़ा हुआ है.
As we ready ourselves for the next part of the program, a few words about National Herald. देवियों और सज्जनों, नेशनल हेरल्ड अखबार का जन्म स्वतंत्रता संग्राम के ज्वलंत दिनों के मध्य में पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी के नेतृत्व में 1938 को हुआ। आज भी पंडित जी की कलम से अंकित वो अनमोल वाक्य जो नेशनल हेरल्ड के मुख पृष्ठ के शिखर पे लिखा है, वो उतना ही प्रासंगिक है शायद जितना तब था। फ्रीडम इज इन पेरिल, डिफेंड इट विद ऑल योर माइट। स्वतंत्रता खतरे में है, इसकी रक्षा करने के लिए पूरी ताकत लगाएं। इस अखबार ने नेहरू जी के नए भारत के निर्माण के सपने को सदा अपना आदर्श माना। नया भारत एक आधुनिक, एक लोकतांत्रिक, न्याय संगत, उदारवादी, सामाजिक समरसता और सामाजिक सद्भाव की परंपराओं से परिपूर्ण भारत। नेहरू जी के ये आदर्श और मूल्य आज भी नेशनल हेरल्ड की आत्मा है। अपने 8 दशक के इतिहास में नेशनल हेरल्ड ने जब इन मूल्यों का पहरा दिया तो हिंदी में उसका प्रारूप नवजीवन के रूप से और उर्दू में कौमी आवाज़ के नाम से जाना गया। युग बदलने के साथ नेशनल हेरल्ड ने डिजिटल मीडिया के महत्व को समझते हुए पिछले वर्ष नेहरू जयंती के उपलक्ष्य पे 14 नवंबर 2016 में अपनी वेबसाइट का बीटा वर्जन nationalheraldindia.com को लॉन्च किया। हमारा विश्वास है आने वाले समय में नेशनल हेरल्ड भविष्य में एक प्रबल मीडिया संगठन के रूप में आगे आएगा। As the stage is now set, let me invite on stage our chief guest, Honorable President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee ji, our guest of honor, Honorable Congress President, Shrimati Sonia Gandhi ji, our Chairman of Associated Journals Limited, Honorable Motilal Vora ji, and Editor-in-Chief, Nilab Mishra ji, to kindly come up on the stage. Former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh ji. It is time to hear from the dignitaries present on the dais now. We all know of great contributions Shri Motilal Vora ji has made through his illustrious career, serving the nation in various capacities as a Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh and as Governor of Uttar Pradesh during the President's rule. But what makes us truly proud to have him as our chairperson is a not so well known fact. The fact that he indeed started his journey as a journalist himself and remains a journalist by heart. It is my great pleasure to invite our chairman, Shri Motilal Vora ji, to come upon the stage and say a few words.
माननीय राष्ट्रपति जी, आदरणीय कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी जी, पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी, नेशनल हेराल्ड के संपादक नीलम मिश्रा जी और माननीय अतिथिगण, यह अत्यंत सुखद संयोग है कि इस वर्ष हमारी स्वाधीनता के 70 वर्ष पूरे हो रहे हैं। इसी के साथ यह वर्ष श्रीमती इंदिरा गांधी का जन्म शताब्दी वर्ष भी है। इससे अधिक प्रसन्नता की बात क्या हो सकती है कि ऐसे शुभ वर्ष में बीच के कुछ व्यवधान के बाद नेशनल हेराल्ड का एक नए रूप में पुनः प्रकाशन आरंभ हो रहा है। मुझे यह बताने की ज़रूरत नहीं है कि नेशनल हेराल्ड का प्रकाशन देश की स्वाधीनता की चेतना को एक नया और ओजस्वी स्वर देने के लिए हुआ था। यह भी कितने ऐतिहासिक महत्व की बात है कि इसकी स्थापना और किसी ने नहीं, स्वयं महान स्वाधीनता सेनानी और आधुनिक भारत के निर्माता पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने की थी। हम इस अवसर पर उनके साथ सभी स्वतंत्रता संग्राम सेनानियों को नमन करते हैं। माननीय राष्ट्रपति जी, आपने इस अवसर पर उपस्थित होकर नेशनल हेराल्ड के इस अंक को मुख्य अतिथि के रूप में ग्रहण करने की अनुमति दी और यहाँ हम सब के बीच में उपस्थित हुए। इसके लिए हम एसोसिएटेड जर्नल लिमिटेड की ओर से आपका स्वागत करते हैं और हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करते हैं। डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी का सहयोग और सद्भावना सदा हमारे साथ रही है। मैं उनका भी हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूं। कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी जी का मार्गदर्शन हमें सदैव मिलता रहा है। इसके लिए धन्यवाद की औपचारिकता न निभाकर मैं उनका आदरपूर्वक स्वागत करता हूं। नेशनल हेराल्ड की यात्रा सदैव संघर्षों एवं कष्ट के रास्ते से गुजरी है। आप यह भी जानते हैं कि यह संघर्ष किसी न किसी रूप में आज भी चल रहा है, लेकिन मुझे विश्वास है कि आप सबके सहयोग से हम इसमें सफल होंगे। मुझे विश्वास है कि नेशनल हेराल्ड अपने संस्थापक और इससे जुड़े उन महापुरुषों की कल्पना और सपनों के मुताबिक भविष्य में भी चलता रहेगा। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं आपको एक बात अवश्य कहना चाहूँगा। पंडित जवाहरलाल जी नेहरू एक ऐसे आधुनिक भारत के निर्माता के साथ साथ उन्होंने इस बात की कल्पना की थी कि देश में जब तक हम विज्ञान के क्षेत्र में, तकनीकी ज्ञान के क्षेत्र में आगे नहीं आएंगे, तब तक हम देश में, हमारे देश को जो विकसित राष्ट्र हैं, वे केवल कहेंगे हिंदुस्तान तो सांप सपेरों का देश है, रस्सी पे चलने वालों का देश है। मुझे कहने में कोई संकोच नहीं है कि पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने प्रतापगढ़ की एक आम सभा में किसानों और मजदूरों को संबोधित करते हुए इस बात को कहा था कि विज्ञान और तकनीकी ज्ञान का होना बहुत जरूरी है। पंडित जी के साथ में जो लोग बैठे थे उनमें से एक आदमी उठा, उन्होंने कहा कि पंडित जी, ये किसान और मजदूर विज्ञान और तकनीकी की बात को क्या समझेंगे? तो उन्होंने कहा नहीं, इनकी संतानें, इनके लड़के और लड़कियां हिंदुस्तान की में विज्ञान और तरक्की को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। आज हम कह सकते हैं दुनिया के सभी मुल्कों की तुलना में दुनिया के लोग जो कहते थे कि हिंदुस्तान आगे नहीं बढ़ सकता, उसी हिंदुस्तान ने पंडित जी के मार्गदर्शन में उस मुकाम को हासिल किया। तकनीकी ज्ञान रखने वाले लोगों को आज भी देश के और विदेश के सभी लोग दांतों तले उंगली दबाकर सोचे कि आखिर ये कैसा हुआ। ये हुआ शिक्षा की तरफ पंडित जी का बहुत बड़ा रुझान था। उन्होंने देश में महाविद्यालय, विश्वविद्यालय की स्थापना की। मेरा कहने का मतलब है कि आज अगर हम विज्ञान के क्षेत्र में और तकनीकी ज्ञान के क्षेत्र में तरक्की कर पाए हैं तो पंडित जवाहरलाल जी नेहरू की सबसे बड़ी देन है। और आज हम उनका अखबार, हमारा अखबार और आप सबका अखबार नेशनल हेराल्ड, शायद आपको संभवतः पता नहीं होगा कि पंडित जी कई बार दौरे के समय रात को नेशनल हेराल्ड के ऑफिस में पहुंचकर दिन भर के दौरों का समाचार खुद ही बना दिया करते थे। गजब की बात थी। ऐसा इतने व्यस्त होते हुए भी उन्होंने अपनी कलम नहीं छोड़ी, कलम के धरी हुए थे। मैं अधिक समय न लेते हुए आप सबको धन्यवाद देता हूं कि आप सब लोग यहाँ उपस्थित हुए. धन्यवाद. जय हिंद.
Our former Prime Minister, Shrimati Indira Gandhi, once described her father, India's first Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, as, and I quote, "the humanity in a human being." This generation has been fortunate to have a person who represents the same values. Her humanity, humility, and concern for the well-being of every Indian has not only helped define the soul of Indian National Congress in our times, but also has left the most profound imprint on our national polity in 21st century. As the head of our family and lighthouse of our values, her leadership continues to inspire each one of us. It is indeed my pleasure to welcome Shrimati Sonia Gandhi, President of the Indian National Congress.
Honorable Rashtrapati Ji, Dr. Manmohan Singh Ji, Shri Motilal Vora, Shri Nilab Misra, distinguished guests, friends, it gives me great pleasure to welcome the Honorable President, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, and all our distinguished guests on this very special occasion, the launch of the commemorative publication of the National Herald as India celebrates 70 years of independence. We have come a long way since 1947, and we rejoice together as Indians. But while we celebrate the achievements of our past, we must also look within so that we can shape a better future. The story of the National Herald is in many ways the story of modern India. The intellectual force behind its founding in September 1938 was, of course, Jawaharlal Nehru, who served as its founding editor and as the first architect of India as an independent nation. He was not alone, for his was an age of towering visionaries of the rare dedication. He followed in the footsteps of Mahatma Gandhi and other great pioneers, and in turn was accompanied by a host of luminaries, the like of which few countries of societies have witnessed. The newspaper Nehru founded reflect what that generation stood for, while today we find ourselves increasingly divided in the name of class or caste, religion and region. The National Herald is a testament to those great leaders who rose beyond individual ambition to project and protect the very soul of this land. Unity, peace, and justice, not division and conflict, were the lights that guided them in thought as well as in action. These leaders, Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel, Maulana Azad, Dr. Ambedkar, and so many others have left behind matchless legacies that have stood the test of time and the turbulence of history. It is one of the ironies of our present times that the soaring reach of their work is now sought to be either obliterated or in some cases appropriated by individuals and groups who are in direct opposition to their beliefs and principles. Those who stood aside when history was painfully made by sacrifice and struggle, those who indeed had little faith in the constitution adopted by our country, are now seeking to create an India completely at odds with the one that saw the light of independence on August 15, 1947. Let us not forget that they made no sacrifices to shape India's destiny. Though their language is modern, they seek to take India backward to further their narrow sectarian vision. Their modern jargon conceals pre-modern beliefs, concepts that are at odds with the progressive and inclusive thought, with contemporary knowledge, and with a vision for the future. It is our duty to pull away the hypocrisy and reveal the reality lurking beneath. Today, that tried and tested idea of India has been thrown fundamentally into question by rising intolerance, by malevolent forces that tell Indians what they cannot eat, who they cannot love, what they cannot say, indeed, what thoughts they cannot hold. And all this is being encouraged by a culture of vigilante violence actively supported by those who are supposed to enforce the law. Such examples assault our consciousness almost daily. India has reached a crossroads marked by increasing threats of authoritarianism and bigotry. Where we choose to stand today is where our country will head tomorrow. As Nehru wrote, idealism is tomorrow's realism. Even in the darkest of hours, we must preserve the flame of our national ideals. If we accept, without scrutiny, without question, without a challenge, the fallacies and follies we are witness to today, we will leave for our children, for our future generation, a land of injustice, a legacy of trauma, and a country divided and broken. We are in a war of ideas. We wage this war to preserve our ideals, which have built India up as a model of democracy, diversity, and coexistence. When these ideals are threatened, India itself is in danger. And if we do not raise our voices, if we do not speak up, our silence will be taken as consent. We have daunting enough battles to fight against injustice, against poverty, against prejudice, against patriarchy, against malnutrition, against illiteracy, against communalism, but we must also prevail in this greater war for the soul of our nation. Ours is a mission to preserve the credibility and sanctity of our institutions in their democratic design. Mahatma Gandhi's ideas of truth, Jawaharlal Nehru's celebration of pluralism, Sardar Patel's vision of unity, Dr. Ambedkar's legacy of social justice. These are what we must fight for. The National Herald evokes a time when nationalism fought foreign rule. But domestic misrule is as great a challenge for our country. At a time when the inclusive conception of our nation is under attack, and the press is pressured to obey and applaud rather than to question, speaking truth to power is the imperative of our age. The National Herald is a reminder of what is precious about the India its founders fought to free. So let us work together for its success, for the ideals it embodies. Let us work together to safeguard an India in which each person's voice can be raised and heard. Most of all, the voices of those who question and disagree. We recognize today that it is only through such an ongoing conversation, always lively, often even heated and noisy, that our future as a united and peaceful India can be affirmed and ensured. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Now for the release of the commemorative publication, may I request the Congress President to please present the first copy to Honorable President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee ji. Now may I request the National Herald team to present copies to the dignitaries. Encouraged by the response that beta version of nationalheraldindia.com received after its launch on Pandit Nehru's birth anniversary in 2016, today on this special occasion, National Herald is also coming out with its full-service version 2 website and digital presence. As the commemorative publication was released, a full-service website has also gone live. As you can see, you can get a glimpse of the website. आज हमारे मुख्य अतिथि भारत के प्रथम नागरिक हैं। उनका जीवन हम सभी के लिए प्रेरणा का स्रोत है। स्वतंत्रता संग्राम से जुड़े परिवार में जन्मे, वो एक ऐसे नेता हैं जिन्होंने भारत को गुलामी की जंजीरें तोड़ एक महान राष्ट्र के रूप में उभरते करीब से देखा है। ज्ञान के सागर के रूप में प्रसिद्ध हमारे राष्ट्रपति महोदय ने लगभग 6 दशकों में सामाजिक राजनीतिक जीवन में योजना आयोग के उपाध्यक्ष से लेकर भारत राष्ट्र के रक्षा और वित्त मंत्री जैसे महत्वपूर्ण पदों पर रह के देश की सेवा की। भारतीय संविधान के संरक्षक के रूप में आपने देश की लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों को संजोए रखा। मैं भारत के राष्ट्रपति श्री प्रणब मुखर्जी जी से विनम्र अनुरोध करूंगा कि अपने विचारों और विवेक को साझा कर हम सभी को अनुग्रहित करें।
Good evening, Srimati Sonia Gandhi, Dr. Manmohan Singh, Sri Motilal Vora, Sri Nilab Mishra, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a privilege for me to be present amidst you on this happy occasion and receiving the first copy of the relaunched National Herald. Today, a soldier and a witness of the Indian freedom struggle has risen again. National Herald began its journey during the dark days of colonial years. That was an era where subjects of the crown refused to accept subjugation as their fate. They aspired to be free citizens of a free land, to be masters of their own fate. National Herald gave voice to the freedom movement, but more than that, it gave a voice to the hopes and aspirations of every Indian. It represented a cause, the cause of freedom. Commercial considerations were always secondary and almost non-existent. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, for every Indian from that era, aspirations for freedom were not just about a change in the political stewardship, but were aimed at creating a new India for every Indian. Mahatma Gandhi, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, and many others, the paper gave a voice to the freedom struggle. The British shut the paper down for 3 years on 15th August 1942 in the context of the Quit India movement already launched by Indian National Congress on 8th August 1942. The immediate cause and so-called provocation for the rulers of that time to come heavily on National Herald because of the editorial appeared in the paper titled Vande Mataram. Its editor, Ramarao, was imprisoned for writing against the inhuman living conditions of the freedom fighters in prison. It resumed its publication on November 11, 1945. The paper marked its return with an editorial titled Jai Hind, written by Panditji himself. The editorial represented the yearning of every Indian to break free from the chain of slavery. Below, the masthead of the National Herald, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru had inscribed the words, "Freedom is in peril, defend it with all your might." These words may have been written in 1939, but has its application and relevance for all time whenever freedom is in danger and truly in peril. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty and freedom, and that vigilance can never be passive. It must be active, and active vigilance is the need of the hour. Our struggle for freedom was driven by Mahatma's commitment to truth and non-violence in a world where might was considered right. Mahatma Gandhi told the world that means were as important as the ends. Our struggle then was for freedom against oppression from foreign rule. Our struggle today is to defeat the demons of poverty, hunger, disease in line with the transformational characteristics of our Constitution, which was just not an instrument for administering the country, but which was the most significant Magna Carta of socio-economic transformation. You are aware of the fact that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, even as Prime Minister, was in the habit of writing to his friends very frequently. And in that course of correspondence, immediately after the completion of the Constitution, drafting of the Constitution, where adult suffrage was granted to the people of India, his friend of Cambridge University, earlier British Foreign Secretary, later became British Prime Minister, commented to him that you are always missionary, you always dream, and we are afraid your dream will come to your frustration. Even in February of 1952, Times in London, headline was, when the general election was being held, that India took a giant leap, and with a question mark, whether it was in darkness. But same Sir Anthony Eden, who wrote to Nehru in 1950 that you are a dreamer, later on described the Indian Constitution, which we have just narrated, that it is not a document for transacting administrative business, but it is a Magna Carta of a socio-economic transformation of a huge population that is called India. What we have achieved in the last 70 years surely is not merely some steel plants or dams or some powerhouses. It is much more than that. When we adopted the Constitution, please shut your eyes and keep in your memory when you are old enough. When you are young, please turn the pages of the history. Bloodbath was taking place. Communal frenzy was in an unprecedented scale. Lord Mountbatten, the last Governor General and Viceroy, then of course he ceased to be Viceroy, but just Governor General, observed that I have deployed 50,000 armed forces in western border of India, partitioned India, but we could not prevent tremendous and fearful communal riots. But on the eastern sector, I have peace because there is one-man boundary force, Mahatma Gandhi, who is traveling in the villages of then East Bengal, now Bangladesh. In that context, to have a secular democratic constitution was not easy. It is not merely a theoretical proposition. And Panditji himself confirmed when he was asked by Andre Muller. It was after the general election of 1957 that Mr. Nehru, you have surpassed the average tenure of any British Prime Minister except Sir Robert Walpole. What do you feel has been the most challenging job to you in more than 10 years? His reply was, to convert a highly religious country into modern secular belief and doctrine. Therefore, in these 70 years, as I was telling, is not merely the question of this economic development or that regional prosperity or some statistical satisfactions from where we have traveled to where, but it is much more. To my mind, as an ordinary man of this country, when I feel what a gigantic task has been achieved, to have in a country of 1.3 billion people, when your daily life, 200 Indian languages and dialects are being used in some part of the country or other, all major 7 religions of the world are being practiced in some part of this country, all 3 major ethnic groups in huge conglomeration, Dravidians, Caucasians, Mongolites, are living in a united country under one constitution, under one flag, in peace and harmony. Therefore, surely we shall have to ponder over, pause, and reflect. When we read in the newspaper or see in the television screen that an individual is being lynched because of some alleged violation of law or not, when mob frenzy becomes so high and irrational, uncontrollable, we ought to pause and reflect. Are we vigilant enough? I am not talking of vigilantism. I am talking of, are we vigilant enough proactively to save the basic tenets of our country? Because we cannot avoid it. Posterity will demand an explanation from us that what have you done? I raised this question in myself when I read in the pages of history as a young student, that how in a battle which was sure to win in Bengal, Battle of Plassey in 1757, was lost by traitors. And as a result, 190 years colonial rule was established on this country. It's a fact that after winning the Battle of 1757 and a few battles in South, Battle of Arcot I, II, and III, within 1774, 17 years of Battle of Plassey, British power became truly the paramount power in India, and they ruled for 190 years. Therefore, I am not going to suggest that there is any apprehension of the old type of colonialism to come back. But colonialism has always taken its different phase with the change of history, exploitation, dominance by one power to another power. Why in these 70 years, India persistently, I'm sorry, this is a forgotten word today, but during our days, and I had the privilege of presiding that ministry twice, why Panditji spoke of non-alignment Panchsheel, developmental cooperation between South and South, because in one of the recent publications of the United Nations Development Index, it is found that despite 22 years of signing the WTO agreement, solemn commitment of the world leaders to bring trade equalization and abolish the non-tariff barrier, 80 least developed countries of the world, their indebtedness have increased. That was the rationality for which we talked of South-South cooperation, for which we talked of India must be on the right side of the people, of the awakening of new countries deserving freedom from the colonial roots and exploitation. How many years it took Namibia to be independent? How many years it took for South Africa to be free from apartheid? Because I had the privilege of signing the agreement with South Africa after Mandela came back to power and apartheid was abolished in the early 90s as Commerce Minister of India, because the government of India under Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was the first country to stop trade, international trade with South Africa at the cost of having a serious damage on our international trade account. Therefore, these 70 years were eventful years for Indians. And as I believe, and I am particularly glad to have the opportunity to receive the relaunching of National Award, National Herald, because papers like these, and almost every paper, when I see around, I find many distinguished editors and media persons. I will appeal to them that your duty, your job has never come to an end, and it will never come to an end. Because of you, democracy survives. People's rights are preserved. Human dignity is maintained. Slavery is kept away. You will have to keep your vigilance. I'm sorry I'm using this word repeatedly, but I don't find any alternative appropriate word, because I do believe that citizens' vigilance, intellectuals' vigilance, newspapers and media's vigilance can act as the biggest deterrent to the forces of darkness and backwardness. Ladies and gentlemen, I would not like to take more of your time. I will conclude by just repeating the history, because very recently I had the opportunity of speaking in a function organized by a press club that is in Calcutta for 200 years of India's newspaper. First newspaper publication took place. Newspaper published in Indian language in Calcutta on 15th June 1817. Long before that, first newspaper in India, all over India, was published in 1780 from Calcutta. And in these 200 years of Indian journalism, I found how, with tremendous efforts during those days, whether Bal Gangadhar Tilak's Kesari, whether Lala Lajpat Rai's Tribune, whether Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's National Herald, earlier Surendranath Banerjee's Nation, every newspaper, editor, journalists, they boldly faced the oppression, and whenever there was any attempt to curb the freedom, they were the first to fight. Therefore, always we shall have to keep in mind what was said by one eminent journalist, that my motto is nothing but freedom first, freedom now, freedom forever. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Jai Hind.
धन्यवाद राष्ट्रपति महोदय। जैसा कि आप सभी जानते हैं, अखबार में संपादक का स्थान जहाज के कप्तान की तरह है। हम सौभाग्यशाली है कि हमारे जहाज की कमान नीलाभ मिश्र के हाथों में है। प्रतिभा, विवेक और नैतिकता के धनी नीलाभ जी ने निर्भीक पत्रकारिता के परचम को सदैव बुलंद किया है। मैं नीलाभ जी से आग्रह करूंगा, आमंत्रित करूंगा कि वो आएं और सभा पटल पे धन्यवाद प्रस्ताव रखें। नीलाभ जी।
Honorable President, Congress President Sonia ji, former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh ji, Chairman cum Managing Director of National Herald Motilal Vora ji, and other distinguished guests. This was first, Mr. President, sir, I would like to thank you for your inspirational speech. And from this gathering, whether it was music or whether words, we at National Herald take back a very simple message. To quote Shakespeare, the message is, bequeath to death thy numbness, for from it dear life redeems you. It's life which we are looking forward to. This reference to death is particularly and ironically pertinent in the present context, when the stench of death pervades the air every day by forces inimical, I would say, not only to democracy and freedom, but to life itself. I thank all of you present here, and most of all, I would like to thank, in words written by Tagore in a different context, like to thank our founder, Jawaharlal Nehru. Ogo tomar chokhu diye, mele shotto drishti, amar shotto roop, pratham korecho shrishti. Difficult to translate, Mr. President, but yes, let me attempt it for those who do not know Bangla. Eyes bequeathed by you beget the power to envision truth. You created me first as an embodiment of truth, and we at National Herald plan to take that forward. Be as far as possible for us an embodiment of truth is speaking truth to everybody, to power, to forces in society which are against life and humanity. Thank you.
As we come to the end of the program this evening, let me thank all our dignitaries present on the dais. Let me first of all thank Honorable President Shri Pranab Mukherjee ji, our guest of honor, Honorable Congress President Srimati Sonia Gandhi ji, Honorable former Prime Minister of India Dr. Manmohan Singh ji, Motilal Vora ji, and Nilab ji for their gracious presence. I would request everybody to please stand up for the national anthem. As our dignitaries leave, you're kindly requested to please stay in your seats as the Honorable President leaves the auditorium.